So first thing you're going to do is you're going to put a little bit of flux onto the surface of your soldering iron. And then you are going to plug the soldering iron in. You want to make sure that you have some solder and that your sponge is wet. And so what's going to happen is we're going to wait for about a minute for the soldering iron to heat up. And you can test it by touching a little bit of solder to the tip. Once you see that, one, it's probably going to smoke a little bit because of the flux that we put on, and then it is going to, the solder is going to start to melt. After the solder starts to melt, you want to wait about 30 seconds for the soldering iron to get hot enough that you can wipe it against the wet sponge and clean off all the oxidation off of the surface. Oxidation is caused just from the air, and it makes the tip of this dirty, and then it won't function very well for you. So we want to make sure that we have it clean before we get started. And my soldering iron is just about hot enough. I'm starting to melt a little bit of solder, so now I'm waiting that 30 seconds in order to get it hot enough that it doesn't stick to the sponge when I go wipe it across the sponge. When I am done with that, I'm going to add a little bit more solder to the tip. The solder that I'm going to add to the tip after I've wiped it off and cleaned it is to help protect the tip from oxidation, which is, again, the air oxidizing the surface. So it should be ready. And so I am able to wipe it off on the sponge. It becomes nice and clean and shiny when I do that. And then I'm going to add a little bit more solder to the tip in order to protect it. Now, because the process to get this thing started to use and the process to put it away are the same, I could use it right now if I was going to use it. But in this case, I'm just going to show you how to put it away. Okay, so I unplugged it, and now I need to wrap the cord up nice and tight so that it doesn't burn either by this soldering iron or by getting laid next to another soldering iron. So what I do is I hold it at the very top, and I'm going to roll it around my fingers just like this, and that way I'm not burning myself when I'm doing this. And I make sure it's nice and tight. Then I'm going to take the Velcro and I'm going to wrap it around the cord nice and tight in order to make sure that it does not come apart. And do make sure that when you're wrapping it, you are doing a good job of making sure it's tight and right at the tip, so it should be just like this. If it is hanging down a whole lot lower, the soldering iron next to it, when I go put it away, will melt the cord, and then we have to throw it away. So that is what it should look like, and then I would make sure that I get everything else put away into the proper location. And that is how you would start it, and how you would clean it, and then how you would go to put away.